Hi guys, you asked me to share another personal encounter, so I'm going to share one today and a little bit of the past with y'all. Uh, this sort of took place at my granny's. Um, it all started, my uncle had got back from Vietnam, and there was this place that he loved to go, and he would take his girlfriend, and a lot of the other guys would go, and girls, and they would see a spook light at this place, and it would scare them, and they would all leave, and it was a fun thing to do. Nothing had been happening at my granny's place. It was quiet. None of this other stuff had been happening. And one particular night, a few carloads of people that were down there, they seen this thing that they described as having like hide hanging off of its face, really weird looking creature. And it scared a lot of them to where a lot of them didn't ever return back. My uncle would actually, he was making fun of them, saying, "It's not going to bother you, you can come back," but they wouldn't come back. So whatever they seen, it must have been pretty hideous looking. Uh, there was one particular night, my uncle took his girlfriend, my mom, and some of her sisters to this spot, and they was going on a spook hunt, the regular thing to do. And I'm going to put a picture up of that area. It may have changed a little bit by now because this was probably 50s, 60s area time. But I'm going to put a video up of the kind of the location where this happened. But anyways, they're sitting out in this field, and while they're sitting there, of course, the spook light, it arrives, and they see it coming, and everybody's like, getting scared, and it's getting closer and closer, and they're getting ready to leave, and he starts the car. Something big hits the top of the car. The whole car rocks. They thought it had ran out and hit the car, and everybody's screaming and scared, and my mom said she was in the floorboard. So they leave. Well, they get back to Granny's that night, and go to bed, wake up the next day, and they go out to the car, and the top of the car is covered in fish scales. They thought that was really, really weird. Well, that night is whenever everything at my granny's started happening. It started beating on the house, it started scratching and the whistling, trying to get in the back door, wiggling the doorknobs. A lot of weird stuff started happening. And Granny said what had happened, whatever this thing was, it had rode on top of the car back with them. Now, some other people said it may not have rode on the top of the car. Some other people said it might have been the smell, because they said the car stunk so bad they couldn't hardly ever get the smell off of it. But Granny always said that it rode on top of the car home with them. Anyways, it got really bad. It got to the point where my cousin George, he was 10 years old at the time, and he was coming up to Granny's, and he was walking up the sidewalk from the Circle Drive out front. You'll be able to see the pictures. I'm going to put them up. Granny's house burned, but there's a new house there, which one you're going to see. And my granny's burnt, but you'll be able to still tell they still face the same direction and everything. You'll see the Circle Drive out to the front. There's a sidewalk that goes up to the house. He was going up that sidewalk. To the left, as you're looking at the photo, there's a row of honeysuckles that would run down the fence, and then you have part of the drive over here, and then the hog pasture down, and then the old pond with the cattails. George was walking up there one night, and it whistled at him, and he took off running. Scared him. And to go into Grandma's, you had one concrete step, and you had another large concrete step, and then another large step, and you were on the front porch, which was covered in plexiglass, with a plexiglass door you could shut and lock, like a house door, but it was all plexiglass my dad had built. Well, he ran, jumped up in there, ran all the way to the front room, and just collapsed. They said he was white as a sheet. But what was weird is whenever this happened, whatever it was that done that, it actually laughed. They said it had a really weird laugh. Everybody heard it. And it wasn't the first time they'd ever heard it. But you see, Granny had had a stroke at this time. So we're talking when they were doing the spook ride and stuff, make sure I get this for y'all to understand, would have been in the 50s or the 60s. Okay. Now, this event with George, it was late 90s, maybe into the 2000s. It had came back from all those years doing the same thing. But it didn't come back until my grandma had had her stroke. all the girls were coming back home to take care of Grandma, staying the night again. So it's like when the girls came back home, it came back. Pretty weird. But Mom was coming down one night to take her turn to take care of Grandma, or Granny, sorry. And whenever Mom got down there to take care of Granny, they had a secret code the girls had that if something was happening and it was too dangerous to get out because they all didn't have cell phones in, flashed a porch light, that mean to leave, there was danger. Well, when Mom pulled in, they started flashing the porch light over and over and over and over. So Mom left, and she lived probably about half a mile from there. So when she got home, she called and asked, what had happened. And they said, well, whenever you pulled in, now the hog pasture on this video is to the left, where I will post a picture. Then you had the driveway. Then you had the row of honeysuckle on the fence, and then the house. There was a Mustang in the driveway that didn't run. Well, my aunt said when my mom had pulled in, whatever this thing was, it had come up out of the hog pasture. It was all bent over like we've talked about. She's a creepy looking way it walked and just the way it moved. Shadowy. It was dark. It crawled into this Mustang. It knew my mom had to walk in between that hog pasture and that Mustang and those honeysuckles to get up to the gate to go in. If it would have hurt her that night, I don't know. I don't know if it done it to get closer. I don't know if it done it to hide, to watch inside. Whatever y'all think. Leave a comment. I don't know. I do know that everybody always said that they felt like it was after my mom the most, because every time my mom was there, it would be there the worst. It would try to get in the worst. It was more violent as far as trying to get in, howling, beating on the house. It was even to the point where my uncle believed that it was after my mom, that he was a welder for a large coal company. He hung a oak door at the back of my granny's house. It took 2 men to lift that they had ordered. He put steel plates around this door and welded them. And then he put big old bolts, huge bolts through the wall, and then large steel plates the bolts went through with huge nuts on them that he screwed up, and then welded the nuts where they couldn't be took off. He said, if anything's going to come in this house and get you, it's going to have to tear the back of this house off. He was that concerned for my mom. He was a really good man. He's not with us anymore, but really good man. Anyways, he had made that. And while my mom was there, I would stay with her some nights. And it would rattle the back door. You could hear the pressure of something pushing on it, like when you push on a door, how it'll kind of creak the wood or whatever. And there was a window in the bathroom just off of that door, just over was where the old bathroom was at, and it had a smaller window, and no way it could have fit through there. I probably would have had trouble fitting through there. But the old wooden windows, with the turn locks at the top, that's what was in the house, and it would grab that window and rattle it up and down, bang it up and down. Well, I don't know if it was trying to get in, trying to open it to look in. I always had a fear of going to the bathroom and it having its head or arm through there, or getting in somehow and be standing in the bathroom waiting on me, or standing back in the utility room waiting on me. That was always something that ran through my mind. It was scary as hell. But that was some of the things that happened. They would have a really rainy, stormy night, and Granny said, and Mom also, and her sisters and brothers said that you would think those would be the nights that would be quiet, but they wasn't. The more it rained and the more stormier it was, the worse it was, and when it would show up. They went out, and the footprints that they have found were barefoot. One was 18 inches. The other one was 22 inches barefoot. They said the weird thing was, if it snowed, it would be a nice night. It never showed up in the snow. Most peaceful nights were snow nights. So I don't know if it knew it could be tracked or why it wouldn't show up in the snow, but they said never in the snow. And this happened for years. 50s and 60s, 90s, up until 2000. Years, guys. Never once in the snow. And this thing would have to be old, you would think, with my mom being, 12, 13 maybe, 14, somewhere around there. And it's still doing that up into this age? That's weird. Is it the same one? Is it a clan? but it was still after Mom, so it makes you think, is it the same one? Because I know when we go fishing, it's always on Mom's side. It always throws the sticks over by Mom and the kids. Would it be the same one after my mom all these years? I don't know. That's freaky to me. I mean, you wouldn't think that another one would do it, would you? I mean, I don't know. It's really weird. But my mom, the only reason I think that maybe it could be maybe angered at her is because she is one of the only ones that ever saw this thing up close. It was by accident. She was a little girl going up the steps. It was hiding under their porch looking through the steps at her, and she got a good look at it. Hopefully I can get her to tell that story on here and y'all can hear it. It's hard to get the older people to talk about these things. And maybe that's why it was mad at her. Maybe because she seen it. Maybe because she was the one that was it chased her from the barn one time. She told me that she went out to the old milk barn and it ran her all the way from there. She could see the grass falling over beside her where it was chasing her and hearing it snorting, and it would always stop at the grass line at the yard. It's just, it makes you wonder, why Mom? I mean, it happened to all of them, but why worse with Mom? Something for y'all to think about. Coming up, we've decided, since some of y'all got me thinking about my grannies and everything that had happened, me and Sarah, I don't know if Kaylee's going to make it. It kind of freaks her out, but I think Chris is going to go. We're going to go back behind. There's a way to come up toward my granny's property from the woods, which is a pretty good hike. And we've been warned not to go in there by several of the elders. They said there's a lot of weird stuff down in there. We shouldn't be traveling that deep. Nobody ever travels down in there, so we're going to go for it and see if we can find anything. See if maybe there was caves back in there or something, where it was staying, or why it would have been back in there, where it would have hid, why it would have stayed there. Because every time it left, it always ran that way. So, I mean, there's got to be something back there. I know there's an old creek back there that they used to call Swinging Bridge. But we're going to go check it out, and I'll be bringing you that story. I hope you all enjoyed this. If the personal accounts are what y'all like, I've got more. Like I said, a lot of things happen down there. But if you like it, let me know, and we'll do more. Appreciate y'all watching.